sitting now in what we fondly call the parlor here at Fatima College, and with me at this time is Mrs. Meera Moniquette, the head of the History and Geography Department, alongside Ms. Josette Roberts, mathematics and business teacher here at our college. Thank you for joining me this morning.
Thank you.
Josette, tell us to start off, how has this transition been from this day-to-day in-person reality to this new virtual reality in the wake of COVID-19?
Well, for me, it was a bit difficult in that I'm more of a hands-on teacher. And you teach math, it's not something that you would do from a distance. You're always there in the child's face. So now where we have the virtual reality, it was a little bit more difficult because I can't be there to guide them through the questions, guide them through the sums. So that was a bit of a challenge for me in general. But I think at the initial stages it was difficult, but as you got used to it, it was a little bit more comfortable on my part, and I think it was a little better for them as well.
Mrs. Moniquette, as a head of department, your task in guiding some teachers, a number of teachers in facilitating this new type of lesson, and yourself as a teacher, how did you manage to traverse those roles?
Okay, well, as a teacher, history teacher, we're always encouraged to be very creative in our content. So that was something that we always had in practice, right? But of course, as Josette said, being in this virtual world, it did pose some challenges. We had to kind of create a different kind of content and using different platforms that we probably may not have been very versed with. And so we did, as a head department, we did have some teachers who were not necessarily all equipped with the knowledge that's required to really effectively deliver in those particular platforms. So it was a bit, there was a challenge there. And then of course, trying to guide them in order to complete the curriculum in the kind of time period that we had under the circumstances. Of course, that would be some challenge as well. But I think, as Josette said in the beginning, because it's new, it was difficult. But we worked out our kinks and we really, we did what we needed to do. I think later on the boys themselves really got into the classes and they were very excited to be living in that kind of mode. So yeah, we did what we had to do and I think we did a good job.
And I'm able to say that, the part of the steep curve that we had to climb during this period was because there was no warning. There was no warning. And one of the things that you had to do in this, without much notice, was to put together a new timetable. This wasn't an ad hoc kind of, experience. Can you give us some insight into what was required in putting this new virtual timetable together?
Well, we never wanted to stop having school. And I think when the ministry had shut the schools down, our principal, Father Gregory, he never wanted to stop having school. So it was always something that we had at the back of our minds. In fact, we started thinking about it the week before the official end of school. So we knew that when we came back out the first term in the middle of April, that we would have something there. So the timetable really was to facilitate not so much an entire day of virtual learning because we felt that this would be a little draining on the students. So we facilitated a half day, which would be from 8:30 to 12 of virtual learning, whereby the kids would have like 5 periods in one day and a break. So the timetable issue was not difficult, but we started planning very early. So the timetabling happened very smoothly and the kids were able to be integrated into the virtual environment.
And how, going forward, we talk a lot about embracing the new normal. Going forward, how do you see life here at the college being permanently affected?
Well, I think it has forced us to adapt pretty quickly, and it has forced us to really blend our learning practice. Have the in-class, in face-to-face kind of learning, but with the technology added, we already had that. I mean, we already had our smart boards in the classroom, and we already were in practice of using technology to teach and education. But I feel as though COVID has forced us to really reflect more on how we can put how we can put a blended curriculum into effect in a more palatable way for both the teacher and the student, because it does require a lot more planning,
Yes.
right, in order to deliver that kind of content, especially considering how the shift system may or may not happen. We're not sure how it's going to go. So we really do have to look at, yes, face-to-face, but also the technology as well.
And if I could also add, what this has taught me is that our students are a lot more resilient than we would have expected. They don't need us in a classroom to learn. They did an extremely good job at the end of the day of learning what we had put forward. We had one Zoom session per week, and they had other sessions that were planned, but they were not supervised. And they did the work, and they did extremely well. So students don't need us there physically. They need our input, yes, with imparting knowledge, but they can work on their own.
Yes.
And I think that is one of the most positive takeaways here, that they can get through this, and we will get through it in the future. Yeah.
And as one of our former principals used to drum into our heads, that Fatima boys are good boys.
Yes.
So thank you very much for joining us today as we continue to speak about how Fatima College has embraced the new normal in the wake of COVID-19.
Thank you.
Thank you.